You like, baby.
What's that?
You like.
Not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
Listen, no one's going to give you more coverage. No one's going to be at more games. No one's going to be more informed. I'm not just some guy sitting in his basement spouting off about who's winning games and who's doing what. We're real. The rebellion is real. Providence Journal coverage is going to be real this year. It's almost here. 3 days away.
We don't do no talking. We know what they do for the viewers. If I took a loss, no, I got it all back. They just want to talk, so we gonna talk facts. Got it out the mud, got it out the mud. Really on the blood, really on the blood. Yeah, they know what's up, yeah, they know what's up.
Throughout the football season, every Friday night, we bring you exclusive sideline access and post-game interviews.
I love what Mikey does. Sometimes I'm like, yo, you over the edge, TMZ with it. But
the boy gonna do you something nasty.
I hate to say it, more times than not, he get the results he wants.
Right, and to be honest with you, I honestly don't think it's over. Honestly, I think exactly what this state needs. We've always needed a platform where we can call out the nonsense,
the repercussions,
and give people the props that they deserve, and call out the people who are full of it. And honestly, I think that more and more people are starting to utilize Mike's platform for that. And honestly, I know a lot of folks. A lot of people talk to me, "Oh, Emerson, like you're on there and you talk this and you talk that," and I'm like, "Listen," I said. Name one thing that he's been wrong about. And then there's silence.
But, boy.
Right.
Because they know. Because honestly, like that stuff that's being exposed, they're like, oh, damn, how did he find out about it? And again, Mike has his sources, and I never get into that. But at the end of the day, what he exposes is the truth. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear the watered down version. They want to hear, I don't know how he found that out, blah, blah, blah. But, they want to duck and dodge and this and that. And, there's no need for that. It's like, okay, we need to bring a level of respect back to, coaching and administration and stuff like that. And honestly, when people get called out like that, they call out the nonsense. And that's exactly what we need.
Y'all better stop playing with that boy.
Oh, the alignment's good for football on second thought. Dude, you crap.
That's the bad guy. Bad guy. Bad guy. That's the bad guy. The bad guy. The bad guy. Commission. The bad guy. The bad guy. The bad guy.
Load up that queen.
We living in a storm. You feel the heat. Cease and desist, the letters drop on the concrete. Yeah, how many times they served them, count the notes again. Phone again, say hi, yeah, we know the names cause they tend to pull that paper quick. It's a game they play, Palazzo, Murray, Braga, lawsuit on the way. Lawyer up cause the guilty got the shadiest moves. Hiding behind they titles while they take off they shoes.
Cease and desist, coming down like a fist. Teachers preaching right, but man, they don't get it. Keep it real on the podcast, we point the light. Show the world the truth, ain't no hiding from sight. Yo, Billy, don't you have some makeup to put on? Head into the shower room, but where's the truth gone? Anna Maria, what a tale to throw around. Social media buzzing, watch the drama resound. Sleeping around campus, are you set to teach? What example you setting your message out of reach? Man, teachers doing wrong, they get them on replay. Billy's game is so weak, send her back to the play. Predatory instincts, what's the lesson to learn? You think the tables turn when it's your turn to burn. Cease and desist, coming down like a fist. Teachers preaching right, but man, they don't get it. Keep it real on the podcast, we pouring the light.
Show the world the truth, ain't no hiding from sight, yo. Cease and desist, coming down like a fist. Teachers preaching right, but man, they don't get it. Keep it real on the podcast, we point a light. Show the world the truth, ain't no hiding from sight, yo.
Special man with a word like restraining orders. One for his own daughter, ain't doing this supporters. Another level low, where morals just drift. Parenting's a skill, man, you missed that gift. It's a cycle of hurt, but he don't even see the damage that he does when you lack empathy.
Teachers should uplift, nurture and inspire, but we see the shadows and they rise ever higher. Look closely, don't ignore the cries of the youth. We gotta stand together, gotta fight for the truth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cease and desist, echo through the halls they roam, but the truth won't be silenced from the kids finding home. It's a call to be better, let the past fall away. Pawn again, say hi, let them know we're here to stay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Stuff over here. That's because it's in the other page. There we go. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Mic check. Everybody can hear me fine, I assume. I wanted to talk about this. I think this is important, and no matter where you are, I think this is very, very important. But it's crazy, right? And we'll begin this with all right, good. Shout out to the mod Denise. How you doing? You know, be doing so many great things, you know. Continue your great work for Eddie, that's for sure. But I want to talk about sometimes, you know, it's the community leaders, right, that end up tangled in the streets trying to save kids from pressure, you know, whether it's money, but you're out there trying to save kids. And then sometimes you get jammed up, whether it's bad decisions, wrong associations, or sometimes the system, or sometimes, you know, some people just get it wrong. You know, we've seen guilty men walk, you know, we've seen innocent men, you know, do decades in prison, and we see the truth get buried under politics, under headlines, you know, under fear, you know. So, you know, before we judge, we assume, you know, it's important to listen, you know, before we decide, you know. If we learned anything these last 3 months that I've been like kind of doing these streams every day, if we learned anything at all, we really have to check out the evidence, right, before we decide to let the evidence speak. You know, so Jeremy Ogunder, I did a podcast on him a while ago. I got an affidavit in this case and everything. Not in this case, people. Another case with Jeremy when he got fired from Hope High School as a coach because he didn't want the kids to play. He said there was safety reasons. The city of Providence came up with other reasons to fire him. Anyway, Jeremy has been a role model, you know, a minister for Brown University football team, you know, UMass Dartmouth, you know, he's done things up there, you know, but, you know, now this case is unfolded, you know, these charges are serious. And because, like, Jeremy, if you look at him, you would never, like, he just don't look like the type. I think he's like Nigerian descent. You know, but when a coach falls, right? When somebody that's a role model, a pillar of their community, you know, when they fall, man, a whole city feels it. You know, this was a coach for like he was a former head football coach at Hope High School, you know, a big city school, and he's been the assistant coach on the side of Chris McCall at Classical, for like 12 years. I mean, here's a guy that's supposed to be a role model to young men, and he gets hit with 4 felony drug charges, man. Not just minor drug charges, a man who walked in the building like he's there to uplift the youth. And now the city looks at him sideways. I mean, I ain't here to tell you he's guilty. I'm not here to tell you he's innocent either. I mean, I'm here to tell you that the streets are talking about this guy, man. And I know the community is hurting. I mean, this guy is a minister. You know what I mean? And this ain't just a couple dime bags. I mean, this is a punch in the chest that every kid that believed in this guy. I mean, talking to the parents, the players, the supporters. I mean, this guy got caught with 6 kilos of cocaine and 2 kilos of fentanyl. You know what I mean? Like, is this for real, or is this guy living a double life? Like, here's somebody that's been a coach, an assistant coach, stood right next to Chris McCall at Classical High School. He was, I guess they got I mean, we have to wait until it goes to trial, but I don't think he was railroaded. I just started that off just saying all the community leaders a lot. It seems to be, come find out that it's the minister that gets caught with 8 kilos of drugs. 6 keys of cocaine and 2 kilos of fentanyl. I mean, everybody knows, right? Everyone's connected to somebody, right? But when it's a coach, I mean, it ain't just him. It's the whole school system, right? It's the whole school department. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I'm sure the school is scrambling. I think Brown University is going to take the step and probably say that, he's not affiliated with us anymore. I bet, some people might be like, nah, not Jeremy. That's what a lot of people said. What was like, really? Ogumba? And I was like, yeah, whatever his name is, but you never know people behind closed doors, man. To get caught with 8 kilos of drugs. I mean, it's always people we see in the community, man. Nothing surprises me. We had a priest in Tewksbury go to Bill Ricker House of Corrections. He was doing drugs there. Caught again. God damn. You never know. Now one thing about this case, I'll tell you, you could learn from his fall. Don't make the same mistake that Coach Jeremy made and so many others. You know what I mean? Because if he is guilty, the consequences will come out. But, you still got a future. You still got choices. You still got a lane to run, right? Don't let this coach's mistake, you know what I mean, kind of hurt your future. Because a lot of these kids in the inner city, they barely have a chance as it is. My boy Mike Washington, he's the head coach of the Central Knights, another inner city school. It's tough keeping these kids on the field. The streets win them over all the time. And Rhode Island, let me tell you, Rhode Island don't play when it comes to fentanyl. I mean, they don't play with cocaine either. Attend to deliver. I mean, this case is going to be messy. I don't know how political it's going to be, but it's going to be emotional. And his lawyers are saying the evidence is disturbing. So, they're gearing up for a fight. But while the courtroom does what it does, the community got to do what they got to do, right? You got to support the kids, cut contact with Jeremy. You know, at least for now. I mean, 8 kilos is a lot of drugs, and 2 kilos of fentanyl is a lot. You know, I mean, the biggest damage really ain't the drugs. It's not the arrest, right? It's not even the mugshot, right? I think it's the trust, right? It's the trust that friggin' this coach shattered. You know what I mean? When these coaches fall, it makes a lot of kids question every adult who ever tried to help them, because they look at you like you're a friggin' hypocrite. You know, so here we got another story, right? Where the community folds again. You know, I mean, just in a short time, we had a youth program that had 90 football helmets stolen, right? That them helmets are 300 to 500 a piece, right? You got Cumberland Parent Booster Club that allegedly had anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 stolen in the last couple of years. That's being investigated. You know what I mean? And this is just the beginning of the year. Smithfield is still ending with them putting a Jewish kid in the damn locker and friggin' I think they put alcohol in there or some shit. Yeah, they shoved the Jewish kid in the locker. You know, allegedly. This is a small state. It's a small state. Yeah, you know, but I'm sure but this happens all over the place. I'm not saying it's just a Rhode Island problem. I mean, Jeremy's case is still, I mean, it's still unfolding. So we'll definitely see what happens one way or the other. You know, I mean, it does make cities lose faith a lot, and a lot of these coaches, you know, and the problem is it makes you second guess a lot of the other coaches as well. And then it gives other coaches, you know, that are good coaches, you know, a hard time at getting another coaching job. You know what I mean? We have some good coaches, and I'm sure that there's good coaches everywhere, but we gotta just, you know, we gotta be careful about who are in these schools with the kids. You know, that's a fact right there. That's something that we have to be very, very careful about. What type of people are in these schools? You know, and so on. But yo, check it out. The first look screening, you know, coming up August 7th, 6 to 10 p.m. And you might want to get there early because, you know, this place might fill up fast. You're going to get a sneak peek at the documentary, you know, that's been, you know, 31 years in the making. Do you believe it? The 23rd is actually going to be 31 years that Eddie O'Brien has been in prison, has been incarcerated. You know, in 31 years that Janet was brutally murdered, you know, and the wrong person was convicted of that crime. You know, and as we wait for the Rule 30, you know, it's yeah, I'm sure it's even more frustrating for Eddie O'Brien Jr., who's been already waiting 31 years, people. You know what I'm saying? Think about 31 years. You know, it's like crazy. You know, but when we come back, we're gonna go back to the beginning. I want to talk to you about, you know, Eddie's words, what's going into the, you know, the Rule 30, a couple other things. Give me a minute.
Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. 15 years young, caught in a prison cell. Trapped in the system, ain't that just a shame? For a crime he didn't do, they played him like a game. Pattern so clear, yet nobody sees. Intentional lies blowing in the breeze. Documented truths, but they're buried so deep. Poor kid lost his life while the system's asleep. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. The man couldn't keep his own story straight. Taking a kid's future, ain't that real fate? Welcome back, chat got us talking hood-wise. Dark humor and metaphors disguised in the cries. Sir, hypothetically, in a murder case, ain't it funny how a fool runs this rat race? Growth don't happen in the middle of this mess. Step back, breathe, man, just let go of the stress. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries, couldn't find them on a list. Drowning in a puddle, they dragged you below. But now you let them flounder, cause they reap what they sow. So here's to Eddie, just as long overdue. Fighting for the truth like we all have to do. Step back from the noise, watch him throw a fit. Free Eddie O'Brien, let's never forget this. Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. Fighting for his life in this unjust hell. Free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes.
Listen up, I got a story to tell about the strong women who raised me well. Yo, I grew up in a house full of queens. Strong women teaching me to chase my dreams. Saw my mom grind, juggling, working home. Taught me respect, made me feel less alone. While you flex your muscles, thinking that's power. I learned true strength in the toughest hour. You swing fists, you think that makes you a man, but real warriors protect, they don't need a hand.
Yeah, it's respect over aggression, that's the game we play. Real strength comes from the heart, it ain't just a display. For every queen that raised me, I honor they fight. In a world full of chaos, I'm just seeking the light.
My grandmother's wisdom, it echoes in my soul. Treat women with respect, that's how you roll. You think aggression's a sign of your might, but a real man knows how to stand up and fight. For those who can't, for those who are weak, instead of throwing punches, have a heart when you speak.
Yeah, it's respect over aggression, that's the game we play. Real strength comes from the heart, it ain't just a display. For every queen that raised me, I honor they fight. In a world full of chaos, I'm just seeking the light.
you're a king now, you ain't got the throne. Real kings uplift, they're not out here alone. In a world where ego rules, I stay grounded and true. Building up my circle like my mother's taught me to do. So listen close, this isn't just art, it's a testament of strength, straight from the heart. I'm a product of Queens, respecting my veins. Let the legacy live on through joys and the pains.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Disrespect over aggression, that's the game we play. Real strength comes from the heart, it ain't just a display. For every queen that raised me, I honor their fight. In a world full of chaos, I'm just seeking that light.
Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. 15 years young, caught in a prison cell. Trapped in the system, ain't that just a shame? For a crime he didn't do, they played him like a game. Pattern so clear, yet nobody sees. Intentional lies blowing in the breeze. Documented truths, but they're buried so deep. Poor kid lost his life while the system's asleep. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. The man couldn't keep his own story straight. Taking the kid's future, ain't that real fate? Welcome back, chat got us talking hood-wise. Dark humor and metaphors disguised in the cries. Sir, hypothetically, in a murder case, ain't it funny how a fool runs this rat race? Growth don't happen in the middle of this mess. Step back, breathe, man, just let go of the stress. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. Just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries couldn't find. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries couldn't find.
That's right, you gotta let the clowns think they succeeded. It's always strategic. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I actually have, where is it? Let's see. Here we go. Let's check this out. I have a video we could check out. But yeah, totally crazy about Coach Jeremy, man. It really is. 4 minutes.
England's most notorious murder cases. Eddie O'Brien, 15.
I would never go in front of that board and admit to something I didn't do.
I will never go in front of that board and admit to something that I wouldn't do. And I talked about that a few weeks ago. You can go back and look. It's actually the parole trap, and how you have to admit the crime or basically stay in prison. I mean, there really is a percentage of guys that are innocent. Freebird is good. Yeah, Freebird has some work issues, and I think Freebird checks in every once in a while. So yeah, they sent me an email and the O'Briens. Yep. Yeah, so Freebird's good. But yeah, check out the parole trap, and that basically explains that if you don't admit to the crime, then you basically stay in prison, you know, because they won't give you parole because they say that you're not being remorseful. You're not being remorseful if you don't admit to the crime. You know, so yeah, that is kind of that is crazy.
It's one of New England's most notorious murder cases. Eddie O'Brien, 15 years old when a jury convicted him of killing his best friend's mother. I
mean, I don't know if it's one of New England's most notorious. I mean, Craig Price was pretty friggin' brutal, man. You know, and there's been some other brutal ones around New England.
8 years ago, sentenced to life in prison without parole. He has not spoken publicly in nearly 2 decades.
And that is until now.
That's about 22 years ago. So, I mean, this was when he was in 22 years.
Our investigative reporter Cheryl Fiandaca has the interview you'll see on just one station.
Did you kill Janet Downing?
Absolutely not.
Eddie O'Brien was just 15 years old when he was charged with killing his best friend's mother.
15. Think about that for a second. You know, I don't know if y'all have children that are that age, or you have nephews or nieces or grandchildren. I mean, Eddie has maintained his innocence, right? And even in at the truth about Eddie O'Brien, he opens up by maintaining his innocence and explaining that he's working on a Rule 30 motion, which is a post-conviction relief. Eddie recounts the night of June 23rd, 1995, the night that Janet was killed. You know, he recounts part of that night up in the house. You know, basically told you what he did all day. He worked at the convenience store until about noontime, I think. Then he goes to church, right? He visits his friends. He spends time out in front of the house on the stoop, right, with some of his family, you know, and some of the neighbors till about 8:15. And then what does Eddie do? His sisters, the friends, they go off to some beach, right? They go swimming. You know what I mean? Now the timeline is about 8:30-ish, you know, give or take. And then Eddie said, you know what? My big ass is going to go down to Burger King. You know what I mean? Even though I don't like Burger King, it upsets me. You know what? I don't care. I'm hungry. I'm going to get a burger. You know what I mean? So he goes down to Burger King about 9:10, you know, p.m. And then at that point, he sees Janet's door open. He goes in the house. Oh, snap. He sees blood everywhere. Damn, he sees Janet on the ground. These are his words. He enters. He finds Janet's body. He stops. Whoa. And right there, you know, we kind of stop Eddie's story. And it's going to explain itself inside the Rule 30. Let's get back into this.
Is the defendant guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
Convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole, O'Brien has...
You're just seeing all the breath, like just, he was like, Like, damn.
Was charged with killing his best friend's mother.
Is the defendant guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
Convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole, O'Brien has always maintained his innocence, but has
always maintained his innocence. His story never changed.
Spoken publicly in nearly 20 years until now.
So you're adamant you didn't kill Janet?
Very adamant. And if you really look at the evidence, you'll see the truth.
What's kill Janet?
Very adamant. And if you really look at the evidence, you'll see the truth.
What's
20 years until now.
So you're adamant you didn't kill Janet?
Very adamant. And if you really look at the evidence, you'll see the truth.
What's
do anything.
That's all his lawyers who are working on an appeal will let him say about the case, refusing to let him discuss the evidence or talk about the woman he was convicted of killing. Janet Downing was murdered inside her home in the summer of 1995. The single mom stabbed more than 90 times. Her teenage son, who was O'Brien's friend, found her.
Suspect right there. That boy is suspect. See, Eddie ends up listing 4 issues, right, that his team plans to raise, right? DNA evidence, was misrepresented like a mofo. You know what I'm saying? Selmark, the report that's dated July 25th, 1997. July, what? August, September, October, right? This is what, 3 months before the verdict? It tested 3 items. It tested a little metal piece that was on the stairwell, right? It tested Janet Downing's right and left fingernail clippings, right? And each one showed DNA from more than one person, right? A female, primary, who's Janet, and a male who was secondary, right? The DNA also said that the report states, right, that Eddie O'Brien is excluded as the primary source. Excluded. Where was this evidence presented at trial? No, they explained it as that it could be someone else's DNA or it could be contaminated. And nobody knew about DNA, really. It was fresh. They knew a little bit about a little bit about a little bit. You know what I mean? Each shown DNA from more than one person, and it was a female, which was Janet, and another male who was not Eddie O'Brien. Imagine that. It says Eddie O'Brien is excluded as the primary source. And what happens in that point? The district attorney, Tom Riley, lies to the jury, right? And I explained this in the DNA episode, that he needed to get a 12, right, in one of the DNA columns, right? You need to get a 12 so you could match Eddie's profile, right, which the lab report contradicts. So he tries to take from one column and put it in another column, and he says, see, it's a 12, it's Eddie. No, it's just you can't do that, and I explained that. Let's get back into this. Hang on, let me get this back on.
You're adamant you didn't kill Janet.
Very adamant. And if you really look at the evidence, you'll see the truth.
What's
There it is. There's squint, can't see anything.
Do anything.
That's all his lawyers who are working on an appeal will let him say about the case, refusing to let him discuss the evidence or talk about the woman he was convicted of killing. Janet Downing was murdered inside her home in the summer of 1995.
That's right. Yes, the cereal aisle, the milk. Absolutely. Yeah, Gina's story never changed either. You know, Riley withheld evidence. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The single mom stabbed more than 90 times. Her teenage son, who was O'Brien's friend, found her body. O'Brien, a former altar boy and the grandson of the city's longtime police chief, lived across the street from the Downings. He became a suspect after police doubted his story that he'd been mugged the same night as the murder. In court, prosecutors said O'Brien had cuts on his hands and DNA evidence placed him at the crime scene. I asked him why he never took the stand to defend himself.
I was always under the impression that I was going to testify and I was going to tell my story.
Why didn't you?
Why didn't you? You know, and we talked about, I think I talked about, yeah, I did. I discussed that as well with y'all, you know, where, you know, Margot actually, you know, was, you know, went up to see Eddie, and there's like the last day of the trial is like, say, tomorrow. And he's like, oh no, they're going to come up today and prep me. And they just never, they never went up to prep him. And Eddie had so much faith in Bob George.
It was almost the last day of the trial when I was just told, don't worry, they didn't prove their case. You don't have to testify. And here I am.
31 years later.
Baranowski Correctional Center, a maximum security prison. At 6'6" and well over 200 pounds, O'Brien is a 35-year-old man now who has spent more than half his life.
That's a big boy.
Maximum security prison. At 6'6" and well over 200 pounds.
The size of that dude, man. He's a big kid.
Brian is a 35-year-old man now who has spent more than half his life in prison.
It might be weird to say, but I consider myself lucky. I had some good guys who took me under their wings, and they showed me the ropes on how to do time and how to live in here. At the end of the day, this place really doesn't matter. This isn't reality. Reality is out there where my family and friends are.
And now...
And after 30 years, I got to say, for Eddie to still have that mindset, you know what I mean, that this isn't reality, because usually a lot of guys, like 31 years, you're institutionalized. You know, a lot of guys, you know, their worst fear is getting out at that point, you know, because for 30 years, they've been telling you what to do, when make, you know, time to wake up, time to make your bed, you know, time to go in your little cubby, you know, time to go to lunch, time to go to chow, time to come back from chow, time to go to the yard, time to go here.
Big change in the legal system could affect his case. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling it unconstitutional to sentence a juvenile to life without parole. The ruling could now make O'Brien eligible for parole, but O'Brien says that doesn't change anything. for him.
I feel like I would never meet the requirements of in the mid. Would admit to something I didn't do.
Instead, O'Brien says he wants to be exonerated. And so for the first time in 15 years, a new team of lawyers is working on an appeal.
My past isn't pretty. I mean, I've been in prison for 20 years, and if you try to remember that, it affects your future. So I don't even think about my past. I try not to, and I just, like I said, I live one day at a time. I don't look too far ahead, but I am hopeful. I will tell you that.
Janet Downing's family declined our request for an interview, but in the past they've said O'Brien is guilty and should remain in prison for the rest of his life. In the newsroom, I'm Cheryl Fiandaca.
Of course they did say that, but why won't they speak up? Why won't they come out publicly and say anything? Why haven't they done anything? I'm just saying respectfully in all this time. You know, like you would think, oh, he's guilty. Why is he guilty? And all they could tell you is because my brother didn't do, I mean, all they could tell you is because the jury convicted him. You know, they can't say, oh, because he did this or he did that. And I know people say the jumping story, you know, crazy things happen. And his mom said on this podcast, you know, she said that the private investigator went out and located the two gentlemen that jumped Eddie, and Eddie didn't want to falsely identify anybody. You know, so that's where that is. That's where that jumping story goes, you know, so why don't they want to say anything? He should stay in jail. Yeah, because the truth won't get out there. The truth will stay quiet. You know, the truth will stay buried. You know, there's always a spot for you guys to go. JFK wants to interview you.
But I am hopeful. I will tell you that.
Janet Downing's family declined our request for an interview, but in the past they've said O'Brien is guilty and should remain in prison for the rest of his life.
But I am hopeful. I will tell you that.
Janet Downing's family declined our request for an interview, but in the past they've said O'Brien is guilty. And
Crazy, man, crazy.
should remain in prison for the rest of his life. In the newsroom, I'm Cheryl Fiandaca.
You know, absolutely. You know, so it says Eddie O'Brien is excluded. You know, witnesses in the duplex, right, heard banging in the stairway, right, about 8:20. So yeah, so there are so many there are so many things that will tell you, you know, that Eddie is innocent. You know, it's easier to believe Eddie's guilty, right? But witnesses that lived right next to Janet, right? The police didn't even want to talk to them directly, right? Gina, they didn't even want to talk to them. And Eddie said he was on his porch at the time, right? And multiple people, multiple witnesses, not one, not multiple witnesses seen Eddie on the porch. And then you look at Riley's crazy ass notes. You know what I mean? Confirming what went on the stairwell. You know, as the initial, that's where the initial attack happened, but refused to say it in court. This case was so crazy. Riley's notes, he puts it right out there. Reverse profiling and misconduct. Like, we're going to reverse profile Eddie. And Riley's notes, right? It included phases like reverse profile in his notes. He said, working back and find the dirt and blow it out of proportion. That's what Riley wrote in this guy's friggin' notes. Find the dirt, blow it out of proportion. You know, so what Riley ended up doing was building a psychological profile of Eddie. That's what you're going to do first. And that's exactly what Eddie said Riley did. And then he said he focused on the evidence. And then he got the testimony to fit the evidence. Reverse profiling. You know, and then he forced the evidence, right? So the testimony fits and everything. And he even used Dr. Condi. Remember Dr. Condi? Oh, unethical Dr. Condi. Dr. Condi was supposed to be independent, right? Dr. Condi wasn't supposed to be connected with anybody, an independent evaluator. And how did that work out? You know, and let's not even talk about David Lee, the neighbor. David Lee heard what? Two people talking about it had to be 9:45, right? He's saying, what are you doing here? What are you still doing here? Get the hell out of here. And then all of a sudden, somebody running up the street. A lot of things that the police didn't want to hear in this case. A lot. If we looked at the cell mark DNA summary, right, the lab ends up confirming, right, that mixed DNA, right, female and male, that was on the stairs, on the metal piece and the fingernails, right? It was on both, right? Janet couldn't be excluded as the female source, right? Eddie is excluded as the primary source. So right there, it's not Eddie's DNA, they're saying. Why didn't the jury hear that? And then there was another male contributor in that DNA, and that remains inconclusive. So I think that when the prosecution claimed that Eddie's DNA was found on key evidence, right? Don't the secondary male contributor, him being inconclusive, don't that undermine it? It just undermines it. Shout out to my man 2 Cents, member for 2 months. Appreciate that, man. That is what is up, man. Yo, grab a membership, man. Rock with the program. I really appreciate it. You know, I really count on this. I hate asking, but yeah, if you rock with the program, you know, give your boy some memberships or hit up the Venmo. I don't have to kick in 30% to to YouTube with the Venmo at Can We Keep It Real? You know, this is how we get by, pay a couple bills. Absolutely, there's a special place in hell for Tom Riley. Oh, yes, Paul Jr. knows more. Justice for Janet. And Jerry's going for Ryan. And somebody we don't talk about. Is somebody black screen mic still? Is there still a black screen? Let me know. I just gotta put on my other computer. Okay, that's all. They can't keep up with Audio Teaser's lies. About Turtle Boy yesterday, you know, his super motion. You know, I don't think that went exactly how TV wanted it to go. But the police reports, right? And the witness statements, right? You got what Trooper Conley, right? His interview with Eddie's coach, and he describes him as a quiet kid, shy, someone that's not aggressive, someone that's clumsy, and shocked by the arrest. Now, when Trooper, what is it, Adi? When Trooper Adi, his documents, David Lee's statement, right? He said he heard a man, right, voice and running about 9:30, right? Now, Michelle Cameron, right, confirms that Eddie's clothing, which was white above, he said he had a white above the rim shirt, you know, and shorts. And that was around 8:15, 8:30. You know, and then you got the Virginia Gifford lady, right? You got Virginia Gifford's affidavit, right? Another neighbor said that they were hearing banging noises about 20 past 8. Who was in the house, right? I know I see the black screen now because I gotta put the redo the video again. Here we go. Who was in the house? Yep, okay. There we go. So where'd it go? Let's see, people. Here you go. This right here, I believe this was Janet's car. Remember, we talked about her getting groceries and left the car outside. Well, this was her car. You know, so David Lee's statement, you know, said that he heard someone running about 9:30, right? It kind of matches, right? Michelle Cameron's statement confirming they seen Eddie had clean clothes on at 8:30, right? And then Virginia Gifford, which is key. You know, which is very, very key. So, in plain English, right, the DNA don't match, right? The timeline and the witness statements, right, place him outside the house during the time of the attack, right? And I think the prosecutor's notes, right, there's a lot of manipulation of evidence and expert testimony, which they will show and prove at the grand jury. I mean, not the grand jury, for the Rule 30 at the hearing. I think they'll be able to prove that quite easily. You know, they'll be able to prove that. They definitely can't keep up with Adi Ortiz's lies. Nope, they can't keep up with his lies. Big shout out to my man 2 Cents, a member for 2 months. That's what I'm talking about. You know, 2 Cents fan. You know, free Eddie. Lock up Tom Riley from the jump, man. I really appreciate that. You know, but what do we know, right? We know that DNA evidence excluded Eddie, right? That's big, and I'll keep repeating that for a while because you can't get around that. You know, you can't get around that.
You'll see on just one station.
Did you kill Janet Downing?
Absolutely not.
Eddie O'Brien was just 15 years old.
You know, but with the prosecutor's notes, reverse profiling, right? Meaning Riley built a theory first, then he forced the facts to fit his theory.
When he was charged with killing his best friend's mother.
Is the defendant guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
Convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole, O'Brien has always maintained his innocence, but hasn't spoken publicly in nearly 20 years until now.
So you're adamant you didn't kill Janet?
Very adamant. And if you really look at the evidence, you'll see the truth.
What's
do anything.
That's all his lawyers who are working on an appeal will let him say about the case, refusing to let him discuss the evidence or talk about the woman he was convicted of killing. Janet Downing was murdered inside her home in the summer of 1995. The single mom stabbed more than 90 times. Her teenage son, who was O'Brien's friend, found her body. O'Brien, a former altar boy and the grandson of the city's longtime police chief, lived across the street from the Downings. He became a suspect after police doubted his story that he'd been mugged the same night as the murder. In court, prosecutors said O'Brien had cuts on his hands and DNA evidence placed him at the crime scene. I asked him why he never took the stand to defend himself.
I was always under the impression that I was going to testify and I was going to tell my story.
Why didn't you?
It was almost the last day of the trial when I was just told, don't worry, they didn't prove their case, so you don't have to testify. And here I am.
Here is the Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center.
Kind of like the way you said that. Here I am.
Prison. At 6'6" and well over 200 pounds, O'Brien is a 35-year-old man
they were asking
who
about
has
you,
spent
Freebird.
more than half his life
the whole
in prison.
chat was having a
It might be weird to
conversation.
say, but I consider myself lucky. I had some good guys
What
who took me under
happened
their wings,
Freebird?
and
Let's
they showed me the
wait and
ropes on how to
ask
do
Mike.
time and how to live in here.
And I said,
At
Freebird
the end of the day, this place really doesn't matter. This isn't reality. Reality is out there where my family and friends are.
You know,
And now a big change in the legal system could affect his case. The U.S. Supreme Court ruling it unconstitutional to sentence a juvenile to life without parole. The ruling could now make O'Brien eligible for parole, but O'Brien says that doesn't change anything for him.
I feel like I would never meet the requirements of in the mid.
And if anybody has O'Brien footage, send it to me.
Instead, O'Brien says he wants to be exonerated. And so for the first time in 15 years, a new team of lawyers is working on an appeal.
My past isn't pretty. I mean, I've been in prison for 20 years, and if you try to remember that, it affects your future. So I don't even think about my past. I try not to, and I just, like I said, I live one day at a time. I don't look too far ahead, but I am hopeful. I will tell you that.
Janet Downing's family declined our request for an interview, but in the past they've said O'Brien
Of course she did.
is guilty and should remain in prison for the rest of his life. And
That's crazy. I mean, for anybody to condemn a man for the rest of their life, like, when they know the truth, you know, when they know what happened. They know what happened. I assume they know what happened.
Cellmark, your chosen lab expert in the game. Tested the blood, telling the world the name. Eddie O'Brien, they said with conviction, but the truth came out like a hidden addiction. DNA tested, but what did it show? Excluded my man in that courtroom flow. Not a maybe, not a doubt, they sealed the fate. How you sell that story when the evidence won't wait? Stabbings and chaos, the narrative spins, but the DNA's whispering, where do we begin? You're trying to pin the blame, but you're missing the mark. Eddie's outside, lit up, nothing but dark. Can't blame the dog when it wasn't even home. This ain't a fair fight. Eddie's been alone. Janet Downing's world, blood on the slate, but the night's truth waiting can't seal Eddie's fate. How do you even tell when facts slip away? We dance round the lies like the night turns to day. Lights dim down, jury on pause in the courtroom theater. I'm just a part of the cause. You're trying to pin the blame, but you're missing the mark. Eddie's outside, lit up, nothing but dark. Can't blame the dog when it wasn't even home. This ain't a fair fight. Eddie's been alone. Oh, chaos in the streets, but the truth won't die. You can try to twist the knife, but look me in the eye. Exclusions in the lab, but you still wanna shout. Did it run through through your veins. What's this all about? You're trying to pin the blame, but you're missing the mark. Eddie's outside, lit up, nothing but dark. Can't blame the dog when it wasn't even home. This ain't a fair fight. Eddie's been alone. You believe in the shadow, but the light's never wrong. Eddie O'Brien's excluded. That's where you belong. How you gonna sell that story? Leave him out in the cold, in the echoes of justice. The truth's always bold. Cellmark, your chosen lab expert in the game. Square one was a stage. The scripts were all signed before the first siren, before the yellow line. A kid from the corner, a town in a cage. They traded his youth for the front page rage. 30 long years in a shadow-bound cell for a story they manufactured to sell. But ink starts to fade and the truth starts to bleed when power and ambition are all that they need. This is Eddie's truth, rising from the floor, knocking like thunder at the courthouse door. You can bury the facts, you can script out the youth, but you can't lock away Eddie's truth. Yeah, the silence is breaking, the walls have to fall. Eddie's truth is gonna outlive them all. They talked about justice, but looked at the polls, trading a life for their political goals. Nash wrote the pages, the web spread the light, exposing the ghosts that were manufactured that night. The Somerville streets know the weight of the lie, how a gavel can swing while the innocent cry. But July brings the motion, the Rule 35, to strip all the grease from a rigged up trial. This is Eddie's truth, rising from the floor, knocking like thunder at the courthouse door. You can bury the facts, you can script out the youth, but you can't lock away Eddie's truth. Yeah, the silence is breaking, the walls have to fall. Eddie's truth is gonna outlive them all. 30 years of waiting for the scales to dip right. 30 years of turning the dark into light. It's more than emotion on legal pad sheets. It's a declaration to the Somerville streets. This is Eddie's truth, rising from the floor. Eddie's true. Eddie's true. Bloodstained car and locked up a peacemaker behind iron bars. They call him a predator to hide their own lies, but we see the truth when we look in his eyes. A loyal young soul, so gentle and polite. We're standing together to finish this fight. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear. They hid all the palm prints, the DNA strands, put a lifetime of blame on a child's scarred hands. But the science is speaking, the silence is broke. We're tearing the fabric of the web that they spoke. He's grateful and compassionate, steady and true. An innocent man wearing prison cell blue. The system can bend, but it's breaking today. We won't stop shouting till he walks away. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear.
Tired of their stories, tired of the pain. We rise up together, we'll dance in the rain. He's our gentle giant, our shining star. We'll fight till the end, we'll carry him
Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear. As the lights dim, we're the promise it'll his clean clothes in a bloodstained car and locked up a peacemaker behind iron bars. They call him a predator to hide their own lies, but we see the truth when we look in his eyes. A loyal young soul, so gentle and polite. We're standing together to finish this fight. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear. They hid all the palm prints, the DNA strands, put a lifetime of blame on a child's scarred hands. But the science is speaking, the silence is broke. We're tearing the fabric of the web that they spoke. He's grateful and compassionate, steady and true. An innocent man wearing prison cell blue. The system can bend, but it's breaking today. We won't stop shouting till he walks away. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear.
Tired of their stories, tired of the pain. We rise up together, we'll dance in the rain. He's our gentle giant, our shining star. We'll fight till the end, we'll carry him
Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear. As the lights dim, we're the promise it'll stay. Our voices will rise, and we will find a way.
I tried looking for the amateur test. I got it, but I have to search on my computer. You know what? That can be something I can set up for tomorrow. You know, yeah, I tried. I do have it, but it's for some reason it's not cooperating. Let me see. No, it's not cooperating. You know, so what I'll do is I'll set it up tomorrow. Oh, big shout out for the 5 gifted memberships. That's what I'm talking about. Can always count on Jerry and Courtney, you know. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you very, very much. You know, we definitely appreciate that. Much appreciated. Oh, there we go. Footage. I'm surprised I don't get footage.net. Let me check something out. It's all right. Well, I'm just horrible at saving things on the computer. And I did want to play it, but I didn't want to play it the day that the O'Briens were on. shit. Hang on. Oh, this might work. I might have it. Come on. Do me justice. Let me try it this way. Here we go. We got something for you.
Yeah.
Look what I found, people. That's right, we always got to keep it real. No?
I said, Ed, why were you in the bushes last night? And he said, I wasn't in the bushes.
About to have
And
a nice hot cup
I
of
seen you in the
coffee.
bushes. And he said, I wasn't in the bushes, so I just left it at that.
Marco Abreu, Eddie O'Brien's old friend. Today, the star witness.
Thank you, baby.
Recounting how he saw the hawkish teen walking
That's the
away
best
from the
wife.
area of the crime scene.
Could you see his face?
My wife's better than your wife.
Yes, he looked over his right shoulder at me and smiled.
And could you describe what you saw?
Him smiling, his eyes were wide open.
Smiling. Did you see on Sherry Lee's picture how far up the damn street that black car was? You mean to tell me all the way there, all the way to that corner, you seen this dude smiling?
O'Brien seemed amused when Abreu recreated his body language, showing how he had appeared when he walked not far from Janet Downing's house not long after the murder.
Now, Eddie thought that shit. He was like, really, bro? Because Eddie knew the dude's lying through his teeth, and he knows he was lying. That's why he ended up with that nice, pristine job with the United Way or the Boys Club, whatever the hell it was.
Did you make arrangements at that time to give a second interview?
Abreu conceded to the defense in the first two interviews with police. He said he couldn't be sure it was Eddie O'Brien. Moments later, he told the district attorney why.
After you spoke to your mother, what happened?
I told her that I was 100% sure that was Ed the whole time. The only reason I didn't say anything was because I didn't want to believe that he committed the crime.
What happened next?
She called Lieutenant Femino and Trooper Duggan, and they came to my house.
Abreu conceded it was after an angry conversation with Eddie O'Brien's father that he went to his mother with the whole story.
He asked me what I had told the police down at the police station. I told him I thought it was Ed, and he didn't approve of that. He didn't really think I should have did that, but I told him I couldn't lie to the police. So.
Did he lose his temper?
I don't think so. Well, he lost his temper, but I don't think it was at me.
Okay. Did he tell you not to come around the house anymore?
Yes.
Did he lose his temper? He did, but not at me. Oh, big shout out for the 1999. Thank you. Marco was coached by Tom Riley all day long, right, Mikey? And ended up with a good job because of Riley. Absolutely. You know, watch out. You might fall in the back of a garbage truck. Just kidding. In a video game. Not a real garbage truck. A garbage truck in a video game, you might fall in. What else did I miss? Anything? All right, we got the 5 gifted. Oh, thank you. You know, I love when you guys are this generous. My cable company does too. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, 2 Cents. Thank you, Courtney. You know, and 2 Cents, a member for 2 months. I love seeing that. You know, we're going to start doing something for members only. We got to come up with something. You know, we got to come up with something for members only. You know, let me see what other video we have on here. Let's see.
And he did what he had to do. This boy's innocent. He didn't commit this crime. He didn't do it. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. They want you to think that this is a scary, horrible, hidden murderer, monster, stalking the streets of Prospect Hill for 15 and a half years with no one knowing it?
It is very difficult for anyone to imagine how anyone could do this to another human being. Particularly when it's the boy next door and it's the mother of his best friend.
The monster that killed Janet Downing didn't come out of that neighborhood. The monster that killed Janet Downing didn't come out of the house where Edward O'Brien was raised.
3 bloody fingerprints on the inside of the front door. That's not theory. That's fact.
He may have been at the scene. He could have been at the scene. Doesn't mean he killed her.
Did you hear that? He may have been at the scene, but it doesn't mean he killed her. You know, yes, they put him there. Not our garbage trucks. He's too dirty for our trucks. Yep. Lies, lies, lies. From bow-legged Tom Riley.
Of murder in the first degree. Murder committed with deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty.
No murderer, no dark side, no monster.
He got caught in that house, and he did what he had to do.
See what else they have. Let me check this, people.
Not guilty. Guilty to what, sir? Guilty. Mr. Foreman, is the defendant guilty or not guilty? Guilty. Guilty to what, sir?
Guilty to first degree.
Go ahead, sir. Read it.
Extreme atrocity of cruelty.
The foreperson struggled with the words. 2 years, 2 months later, it was over. From Eddie O'Brien, nothing. From his family, an explosion.
You're a liar, son of a... Liar!
Their anger directed at the prosecutor, Tom Riley.
I'll tell you something. That Mr. Riley is no good lying son of a gun.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, this has been a frame-up from day one. Our son did not do this crime, and that Mr. Riley, his political career was on the line, and that's all he cared about. And I don't know how that man sleeps at night.
No, wouldn't have helped if we put him on the stand. This jury was ready to convict. Who knows when? But the fact is, if they convicted him on this evidence, on the basis of what we argued, the forensics were probably most likely what did us in.
But it's not over. We got the appeal, and I'm telling you right now, I will die before my son spends any more time in jail than he has to after this. I'll tell you something. That Mr. Riley is no good lying son of a gun.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, this has been a frame-up from day one. Our son did not do this crime, and that Mr. Riley, his political career was on the line, and that's all he cared about. And I don't know how that man sleeps at night. I'll tell you.
Her son was in the house when she went down the stairs. You heard the testimony of the neighbor that heard her go down the stairs at 8:15. Adi Ortez's cab had to be towed from Hamlet Street where the blood drops were going down the hill. The judge would not allow that to get out in court.
Imagine if that got out in court. While Adi Ortiz's cab was being towed, blood drops were dripping down the street. But no, we can't allow that in court.
Adi Ortez.
And if anybody can't see that, they're blind.
Okay.
She threw him out of the house 3 months before this because he was selling drugs in the house, but they won't allow that testimony in there. Give me a break.
Allow the woman who spent the last 10 hours with her testimony. 10 hours of her life was spent on the porch with Gina Mahoney.
15 years old. I mean, give me a break. He did this in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. He killed her. He dressed her, redressed her, cut her throat. Give me a break.
Mr. O'Brien, why didn't he go on the stand and say this?
Is that Gina right there that I got the arrow on?
He's 17 years old. You want this?
Who is that on Jerry? Right here. Let me know in the chat. Who is this right here? Let me know. Look at Big Ed, huh? Look at the blonde hair he had. You know what I mean? Shout out to Big Ed. Denise said Trisha is even beautiful when mad. She said, hey, you know, like, how do you, I mean, I believe my sister Mary. Okay, yeah, she's hugging a big, tall guy, blonde hair, I believe, if that helps. Who's your sister Mary hugging? It looks like a big guy. Wherever it is, she's crying. She's emotional. I'm sure like everybody was. There's gonna be more here. know there definitely is more. Eddie O'Brien. Amateur test. Cambridge. I know they're all here somewhere. Yeah, I'll have to look for it. Give me a minute. All right, y'all. We will be right back.
Yeah, we gon' take a moment before we dive in. Let me show some love, you know. Yeah, flow. Turn on the stream, feel the energy rise. Shout out to the fam, the ones in the skies. Every comment, every laugh keeps the vibe alive. You're the heartbeat of the chat, yeah, we thrive. Pulling up each night, ready to roll, you make this place lit. Body and soul, vibes in the back, heavy lifting, they don't play. Keeping it smooth, watching traffic every day. Peacekeepers on alert, holding down the fort. Crew full of love, every stream they support. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Are the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Are the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal.
We see you dedicated, going.
I think I might have found one that we have not seen yet.
The anguished parents of Edward O'Brien.
It's like your son being just ripped out of your womb, and it's just how fast your life can change just in an instant.
The anguished parents of Edward O'Brien Jr. have been living a nightmare for the past week and a half. They've launched an aggressive defense of their son, now setting up a reward fund for information in this case.
We've gotten support from people we don't even know, people that Ed knew. I mean,
People
you can
that
go.
we don't even know,
Yeah.
that Ed didn't know. I mean, we've gotten letters
Yeah.
just signed from a friend, not even signed.
Yeah. It's just.
I think a lot of people have gone back to church. I think a lot of people are praying more.
Yeah.
And the O'Briens are praying too, because the night of July 23rd, when Janet Downing was brutally stabbed to death, their son says he was mugged by two men near the old fire station in Somerville's Union Square. The O'Briens want to find the alleged attackers.
We just want these two gentlemen
come forward.
just to come forward. We're not going to press charges.
We don't care what happened. We don't care. We just
You know,
want
we'll give them a hug. I mean, honest to God, we just want these two gentlemen to come forward.
They know he's innocent.
They know he's innocent. They know this happened.
They know he's innocent.
We'll give them a hug. I mean, honest to God.
We'll give him a hug. Oh, okay. Now you're gonna correct my spelling? What are you, my spelling teacher now? No, I'm just kidding.
Uh-oh, Grandma Police is out.
Damn.
Oh my God.
Hey, big shout out to Robert. How we doing, Robert?
Hi, Robert.
Hope you're feeling better.
What a prayer.
You know, we played that video the other night and we were reminded that Robert had 29. You know, he was starting his first treatment out of 29. What are we down to now, Robert? You know, everybody, you know, You know, everyone send Robert some, some type of emoji. You know, Robert going through that chemo. I know, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Take my mailbox.
Yeah, I was just looking for it. I was like, oh my god, yeah. I was like going through all the emails trying to find the links, but we just played one that we haven't seen. Are you just jumping in, Freebird, or did you see the one up on the screen yet? You know, big shout out to Freebird. Everybody was in the chat earlier saying, "Where's Freebird? We haven't seen Freebird. We gotta ask Mikey, where's Freebird? Has he heard from Freebird?" And I was like, "Yes, Freebird had to take care of some responsibilities, but Freebird checks in every chance Freebird has." All right, let me go over here and see where I
We
can.
just want these two gentlemen to, it's like your son being just ripped out of your womb, and it's just how fast your life can change. Just in an instant.
The anguished parents of Edward O'Brien Jr. have been living a nightmare for the past week and a half. They've launched an aggressive defense of their son, now setting up a reward fund for information in this case.
Support from people we don't even know.
No. Keep my waterfall.
I got it. I have it. Look at that. Now let's see if we could let me see if I can play it this way.
Stab her? No. You didn't hurt Janet Downing? No.
It's all good, Freebird. It's all good. Appreciate you though.
Did you kill her? No.
Eddie O'Brien.
That's right. Fate. Gotta have faith, We be keeping it real over here. Gotta have faith. But now listen, people, man. This shit right here, excuse my language, but when I seen this was one of the first key things that kind of got me, when I had the white marker board going and the pros and cons about Eddie. I always like to do it fairly, start off as innocent, even though a lot of jurors don't start off as innocent, but I did. And when I seen the sodium mannitol test, I was like, this kid is not beating this test, and then no blood and so on and so on. I was like, nah, this kid's innocent.
O'Brien denied the murder both before and after the drugs were administered. The prosecutor says it means nothing. He says O'Brien told different stories to the same examiner.
He never accounts for the fact that his blood is in that house. He never explains that away in the tape, and he would not have been able to explain that away at trial.
Eddie O'Brien was convicted this fall of murdering his neighbor Janet Downing in her home in 1995. The woman was stabbed repeatedly. Both O'Brien's and Downing's blood were found at the scene. Truth serum evidence has never been used in a criminal case in Massachusetts, nor has it been allowed in any major trial in the United States. And some criminal attorneys say there's a good reason.
Using a truth serum is an attempt to use a medical test
for a determination that the jury's supposed to make. Are you telling the truth?
The doctor who administered the drug calls it reliable, saying it's been used clinically for 50 years.
It is new to the forensic field, but in clinical medicine today, it is a valid, reliable tool.
I walked in, right to my left, I saw Janet on the floor. She was laying there all covered with blood.
All covered with blood now.
The blood all over the stairs and the hallway.
The bottom line in all of this is that Ed O'Brien has been convicted of...
Been wrongly convicted. He was like, I don't care about that test, but I guarantee if that test had the results that he wanted, right? If that test said Eddie did it, if he said, oh yeah, I went up there and I sliced and diced it like a ginsu, you know what I mean? I guarantee that he would have used that test, you know, but because it didn't, he was like, oh, the bottom line, it don't matter all this stuff. Eddie O'Brien been convicted
of killing Janet Downing. That's never going to change.
And then did you stab her?
I think going all the way back to Nazi Germany, they
You
used
didn't
that
hurt
stuff.
Janet Downing?
No.
Did you kill her?
No.
Well, I don't know if there was any way it would have been admissible. I think they could have allowed during opening statements. That's not evidence. Opening statements is not evidence. They should have been allowed, at least for opening statements, to mention that the Amitol test was taken. You know, that's what I thought anyway. But I'm not a lawyer.
Eddie O'Brien denied the murder both before and after the drugs were
Not too
administered.
bright.
The prosecutor says it means nothing. He says O'Brien told different stories to the same examiner.
He never accounts for the fact that his blood is in that house. He never explains that away in the tape, and he would not have been able to explain that away at trial.
Eddie O'Brien was convicted this fall of murdering his neighbor Janet Downing in her home in 1995. The woman was stabbed repeatedly. Both O'Brien's and Downing's blood were found at the scene. Truth serum evidence has never been used in a criminal case in Massachusetts, nor has it been allowed in any major trial in the United States. And some criminal attorneys say there's a good reason.
Using a truth serum is an attempt to use a medical test for a determination that the jury's supposed to make. Are you telling the truth?
The doctor who administered the drug calls it reliable, saying it's been used clinically for 50 years.
It is new to the forensic field, but in clinical medicine today, it is a valid, reliable tool.
I walked in, right to my left, I saw Janet on the floor. She was laying there all covered with blood.
All covered with blood now.
The blood all over the stairs and the hallway.
The bottom line in all of this is that Ed O'Brien has been convicted of killing Janet Downing. That's never going to change.
It's never going to change, Riley said, you know? What a piece of work. I talk when I get anesthesia, always yelling at my husband. Wow. I could imagine that, right? Getting anesthesia here. Boy, allegedly, I don't know if we've seen this one. Right, whoever is responsible. But like, you didn't have the evidence that Eddie was responsible. And there was a good point that Eddie can explain it because law enforcement took Eddie's vials of blood in his pocket back to the crime scene and passed them off. And just passed them off.
And then did you stab her?
No.
You didn't hurt Janet Downing?
No.
Did you kill her?
No.
Eddie O'Brien denied the murder both before and after the drugs were administered. The prosecutor says it means nothing. He says O'Brien told different stories to the same examiner.
He never accounts for the fact that his blood is in that house. He never explains that away in the tape, and he would not have been able to explain that away at trial.
Eddie O'Brien was convicted this fall of murdering his neighbor Janet Downing in her home in 1995. The woman was stabbed repeatedly. Both O'Brien's and Downing's blood were found at the scene. Truth serum evidence has never been used in a criminal case in Massachusetts, nor has it been allowed in any major trial in the United States. And some criminal attorneys say there's a good reason.
Using a truth serum is an attempt to use a medical test for a determination that the jury is supposed to make. Are you telling the truth?
The doctor who administered the drug calls it reliable, saying it's been used clinically for 50 years.
It is new to the forensic field, but in clinical medicine today, it is a valid, reliable tool.
I walked in, right to my left, I saw Janet on the floor. She was laying there all covered with blood.
All covered with blood now.
The blood all over the stairs and the hallway.
The bottom line in all of this is that Ed O'Brien has been convicted of killing Janet Downing. That's never going to change.
It's horrible to even hear him say that. This friggin' guy.
In jail, yes. You don't get many cases as brutal as this.
A year ago tonight, Janet Downing was found brutally murdered in her Somerville home, stabbed nearly 100 times.
When I look back a year ago today, a woman alone in her own home, defenseless, just brutally murdered. It's a terrible tragedy. It's certainly a tragedy for the family, a tragedy for that entire neighborhood.
Arrested for the killing was 15-year-old neighbor Edward O'Brien, the best friend of Downing's son. An altar boy and grandson of the former Somerville police chief, he stands charged with murder.
It's a sad thing that happened. Knew both families very well. I worked with the grandfather as chief of police. So, all nice people. How this happened and why this happened is a puzzle to me.
Why did this happen? I mean, you know what? We know that the DNA evidence, right, excluded Eddie, right, as the primary. We know that, right? We know there was witness affidavits, right, that placed him outside the house, right, around the time of the attack. We know that. These are these are facts. We know that inside Riley's notes reveals reverse profile, meaning Riley built a theory first, right, and then he forced the evidence to fit into his theory. You know what I mean? And then the neighbor's statement, right? We can't forget about the neighbor's statement banging on the stairwell about what time? 8:20. When was Paul in that house? Right around 8:20, 8:30. Yes, he made it a tragedy for two families. Absolutely. It was a tragedy for two families and a neighborhood and a whole community. That's how they got him. That's how they convicted him. Because everybody was afraid. I mean, this Rule 30 motion, is very important, especially with the juvenile life without parole debate, even though that was flipped, overturned, but it's very, very important. The transfer hearing is critical. The transfer hearing is critical, about getting that flipped. But there's so many things in this case, and why people say, oh, Mikey, don't debunk anything. And I'm like, what do you want me to debunk? I mean, it's really hard to find things to debunk. Not really sure what I can debunk. But if you look at so many things, how this was wrong in so many ways. The evidence in this case has problems. The exculpatory evidence, never mind, the wrongful convictions, the BS, the missing evidence, the ignored evidence, the inconsistencies, right? The questionable blood maneuver, putting the blood in the pocket, like just so many things just make this shit so questionable that shows it only leads to one place, and are they going to do what the federal judge did, and said, hey, Mr. O'Brien, the law, I agree with you basically, you know what I mean? But, I can't do this. The crime was too bad. Yeah, it was, but it wasn't me. You know, they get the public to panic. And when the public panics, right, all of a sudden you're going to get the court system to start rushing and spinning the wheels, right, to try to get this done, and when only thing anyone can debunk is Adi Ortiz's lies and Riley's lies, period. Absolutely. Thank you. And when when the court system rushes, all mistakes happen. That's why people say, why does the law go so slow? Why does the legal system move so slow? Because mistakes happen. And then guys like Eddie get buried. Oh, I bet Riley didn't think back then that technology was gonna creep up his ass. And like think 1996, it wasn't the Stone Age. You know what I mean? Like there was some technology and things were happening, um and to just think that juvenile life without parole, right, which is now considered unconstitutionally and even immoral, like it's not even right. 31 years and the truth finally coming out. Thank you for your notes, Mr. Evil. Absolutely. Absolutely. But across the country, courts have been ruling that kids cannot be judged beyond redemption. The United States of America is the only country that offers juveniles at one time life without parole. No other country does that. That is crazy. Life without parole for kids is cruel. You have to take the brain science, you have to consider that, which that's way beyond anything I know. I just know it's messed it's messed up. I just know a kid's brain is not fully developed yet, and you're not thinking clearly. And come on now, rehabilitation not possible. You got rid of the judge when the judge said Eddie can be rehabilitated. You ain't got a judge that was gonna rule your way. And in the nanny case, what happened? You didn't like the conviction, so you said, you know what? Nah, you guys are done doing this shit. You know what I mean? You are done. No more. And you overturned that and gave that nanny time served and let her walk right out of court. Because I think at a certain point, they knew this is enough. Enough, man. You got that poor kid. But no one comes forward. I bet there was assistant district attorneys in that office, man. Somebody knows who they are. Hit me up. Come clean. Come clean. Die with a conscience. You know what I mean? Help free Eddie. So I know there's a lot of people out there that were connected, that know the truth. You know the shit that happened with the DNA. There's people that know this stuff. We know that Eddie's innocent. Riley's note shows master plan of framing Eddie Cowart Riley. I've researched. They said that in Massachusetts, right, the numbers, it's like 7.2% of life without parole murder convictions, right, are overturned. 7% are overturned. That's 74. And even 74 is way too many exonerations. That's 74 people that was able to prove that the government screwed them over. And a lot of people are not able to prove that. Simply because they just don't have the means. I mean, I don't know what kind of justice system is that, man. I don't want to see, one person, go through 30 or better years served on an average before an innocent person gets released. That is a bad justice system, right? That's some shit that just gets it wrong and takes decades to admit it and don't ever want to admit it, Listen, everybody, I'm about to go out. I gotta work tonight, so I gotta get some rest. Grab a membership, really appreciate it. Grab a super chat, really goes a long, long way. Gift the membership, I appreciate it. We covered a lot today. We talked about the Rhode Island coach, man. Imagine him getting caught with 8 keys of drugs, man. That's crazy. 6 keys of coke and 2 keys of fentanyl, man. And who would believe it, man? Come on, Jeremy. You know, Turboy couldn't get his case thrown out yesterday in court. You know, but I appreciate everybody. You know, thank you all. If you want to hit me up on Venmo, it's Venmo at Can We Keep It Real, one word. You know, if not Cash App, the same thing at Can We Keep It Real. You know, it's definitely very, very appreciated. Or you can hit up a super chat or give some memberships. You know, we always appreciate it. You know, free Eddie, be patient. You know, the Rule 30 is, you know, going to be, you know, it's coming very, very soon. You know, big shout out to Denise Noel for the 1999. Thank you, 2 cents for the 1999. Courtney with the 5 memberships. You know, and shout out to 2 cents member for a couple months, for 2 months now. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate everybody who joins us and, you know, holds it down. You know, at 2 cents at Aunt Jerry. Big shout out to the to Mr. and Mrs. You know, O'Brien, Big Ed, Trish. You know, at Freebird, at Honeybee, at Miss Luscious, everybody. Who else? Who are we missing? At Patricia, Patricia White. Hope you're feeling better. You know, shout out to Robert. You know, hang in there. You know, we got a couple people that are fighting through some ailments in the chat, so we got to keep them, you know, in our thoughts as we battle on. You know, and try to get Eddie up out of there. You know, this is gonna be awesome. You know, like
Murders
this is
stunned
gonna
this
be
close
great.
to Somerville neighborhood.
To be able to watch Eddie walk out them doors.
Keep essays posted on.
You know, it's actually gonna be great. But all right, people, appreciate y'all. You know, Eddie thanks everyone for the support. You know, so big shout out to everybody. Thank you, Miss Christina.
Thank you. You're welcome.
You know, big shout out to Aunt Jerry, man. You know, holding it down. Aunt Jerry, get in touch with Maddie, man. Tell him reach out to me. Maddie actually has a very, very good show that he just released. He went down to Methadone Alley, Mass and Cass Ave. When I used to deliver down there, I used to drive by that place, and I think we're gonna watch that. You know, we're all gonna watch that together. But Mass and Cass, and it was crazy. One of the dudes he was with was looking for his sister. His sister's on the street, unfortunately, and tells him this horrible story, about something that happened to her. Very, very emotional, and just to see how some people are living. I mean, some of the people were loving it. They was like, nah, there's no better way than being down here, staying high up in the sky. We love it. And I was like, wow, so yeah, we're gonna check that out. That was on the W Number podcast. Go check out his page. He just shows you how grimy and filthy the inside of the prisons are, and how they really treat a lot of these inmates. So go there and check out Maddie. All right, man. Appreciate y'all. But we out of here. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah. Hold on. I can't forget. It's gonna pack the house. Right here, you know what's up. August 7th, 2026, from 6 to 10 p.m. Party, food, auctions, and fun. I think we got the okay to auction JoJo off. Is anyone interested in, bidding for a dinner date with JoJo? He said absolutely. So that might not be a bad idea to raise some, to help raise some money, give some people some laughs, right? Who's out there? Who's on bid on JoJo? You know what I mean? A dinner with JoJo. Of course, you got to live in the area, and we got to find a place that is suitable. JoJo said he's taking us. He said he's taking everybody to the Capitol Grill when Eddie's out. Now, I don't know what everybody is, but I know I was included in that everybody. So, yeah, Mass and Cass, man, our trucks are there every day. Oh my God, that's crazy. The U-Haul, yeah, it's crazy. Shane on Haley for allowing the bus there with blacked out windows. Yeah, I remember driving through that neighborhood. Them panhandlers are very, very aggressive over there, and it's crazy because the prison's on the next block, I believe. Yeah, Maddie does a very, very good job over there with the W company. I can appreciate what he does. He tells a real story. And then he went over to Cambridge and he found this hidden encampment of homeless people where you gotta kind of go through these railroad trestles to even get there. But yeah, Mass and Cass Ave, man. I remember that place, going to the Roxbury post office every night that was my 2 a.m. stop. So I'm going through there, and that whole bridge or whatever it is, that whole chain link fence. There's nothing but people lined up from one end to the other. I'm talking about families. Some people had kids, and the police are just going I was wow, they don't do nothing about that. You know what I mean? And that's the problem, man. We gotta figure something out, man. Then people need help. They go to prison, you medicate them, you let them out on the street, and there's nothing for them to do. Over here in Rhode Island, it's downtown Kennedy Plaza. That's where they all hang, and then they go from shelter to shelter to shelter to shelter. Yeah, that was crazy. I guess we got no bids on JoJo coming up, no future bids, but it'll get better. They leave their grocery cart there to save their spot. Yo, I was parked there. What do you mean you was parked there? Yeah, my friggin' grocery cart was right there. I was parked right there. But don't forget, August 7th, 2026, from 6 to 10 p.m., and then after 10 p.m., we're all going to take the party to the O'Brien's house. No, I'm just kidding. Big shout out to Big Ed and Trish, But, all right, people, man, I appreciate everybody. Don't forget, we will be back, because we're trying to stay continuous. You know what I mean? Keep putting this information out there. The research is the hardest part. Talking to y'all is easy, but doing the research is the hardest part. And, shout out to everybody that's supporting Eddie, man, and get involved, man. GiveSendGo.com/GNJZA. So GiveSendGo.com GNJZA. Every dollar counts. Stand up for what's right. Stand up for what's right. Yeah. I know he had doctors. He said, I'll bid 2 cents to go out with JoJo. Oh, we got our first bid. We're starting it off at 2 cents. Oh my God. That is crazy. maybe we can get some of the other guys up there, you know, like maybe some of I don't know, whoever up there wants to be like, you know what, you know, auction me off, you know. So, you know, but you gotta live like up there in that area, and it'd be good to raise money for Eddie, you know. You know, they don't have to find somewhere nice and inconvenient, you know. But absolutely, man. Yeah, but get there and watch the first look screening. Be the first for that explosive long form trailer, The Commonwealth vs. Eddie O'Brien. This is set to dismantle a 30-year-old injustice, you know. So, you know, gonna make it. Well, maybe we can have the big dinner, you know, on the Canopy Lake, you know. That'd be nice. Who got a boat? Bring it out right on the lake. You know, but appreciate everybody, man, you know, for 30 years, 31 years, you know, Eddie is not silent no more. We actually have a whole row of them red ticket things, you know, but yeah, for 22 years, you know, now Eddie has a voice. He's not forgotten, you know. Now we're gonna try to get him out, and you know, we have to speak loud, scream loud, right? I mean, whether you agree or not, right? The state has to face the facts that you sent the child basically to die in prison. You know what I mean? And you might have been wrong about this. You might have been wrong, and you know you were wrong. You know you were wrong about this. Go back and watch Eddie's interview, you know? That interview holds a lot of weight. You know, because the juvenile life without parole science, that is junk. That makes no sense. I can stay on here for hours talking about this type of stuff. You know, for hours I could stay here talking about the law changes, you know, and how what the kids like Eddie, you know, had to go through. And, you know, this is probably the backbone of when the Supreme Court actually ruled in that I call it the Three's Company case, Roper and Simmons. You know? Oh, big shout out to Free Bird for the piece. You made it home safely. No tickets. LOL. Thank you. Blessing, my friend. Free Eddie today. Oh, when you said tickets, I thought because we were talking about that on August 7th, we're gonna auction JoJo off for a dinner date, you know. So we're gonna try to raise some money for Eddie, you know. You know, so that's gonna be at the George Dilboy VFW Post 529. Probably the only VFW in Somerville, but anyway, it's 351 Summer Street. Everything summer. Summer Street, Somerville. Some are here, some are there. No summer speeding tickets. No speeding tickets. No, we can't get no speeding tickets. Not at all. You know. There you go, man. You know, but I thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all, and I'm sure we'll be talking tomorrow. All right, we out of here.
not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
In the courtroom lights, truth's gonna bend. Heffernan standing tall, trying to defend. Said it looked bad on paper, but it's all deeper. Politics lurking, call it a grim reaper. Eddie was just a kid, caught in the fray, but the power players had a game to play. From day one, they wanted him to fall. A kid in the spotlight, crushed by it all. Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Dr. Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right, a face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. With a stroke of a pen, my ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic, cause he stood his ground. But the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down, they wanted him lost. With the stakes so high, he paid the cost. Heffernan's truth reigned clear in the dark. Tried to bring light, but it missed the mark. Eddie, a kid caught in a game, lost in the shuffle, society's shame. So here's a lesson carved deep as stone. Justice shouldn't wear a political tone. Heffernan stood firm, knew it wasn't just. In a world focused on power, who can you trust? Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. So let's remember as the story unfolds, the tales of the innocent, the truth yet told.